4 things took me from $12 million a year to $60 million a year, and I would like to share them with you. Number 1 thing is remove duplicity of roles, right? Now, if you're a business owner, the number 1 issue that I see most people face is they think the bigger the team, right, the more they can move forward. But here's where you run into problems, and especially if you're like me in the beginning, that's the same mistake I made. So when we were always focused on hiring for roles, we thought, hey, you know what, how about we bring in multiple people for the same task, right? Except you are hiring a sales team, right? If you're hiring for a sales team, I think, yeah, it makes sense to have multiple people who are fulfilling the same role, because like you're trying to have these people compete to see who is going to be the rock star amongst them all. But it was an issue because when you have multiple people fulfilling one same function, one, you're going to increase your overhead, and when you do end up increasing your overhead, you would be able to also optimize and know, like, are these people really eating the goals that they should be eating, right? And if any way like me, I love to run a lean and mean team, that is, find solid rock stars, bring them on board, and have them carry out specific activities that I know that, yeah, when they do this, we'll be able to get results. But most business owners they commit a grave error, and that is they feel, yeah, the more people I have on my team, the more people I can brag that, oh, I'm a CEO of this. But it's not really about how many people, it's like how optimized is your business running, and also it's about like knowing to a certainty that yes, you can control the dynamics of your business, right? Because yeah, as much as you want to work on your business, not in your business, you still also want to be like a manager, because you get to a point where you just want to manage talents, right? But the issue that you are probably going to face is you decide that you want to go cheap, right? And that's one of the costliest mistakes I've ever made in my life. And I think there's a video dedicated to that, which is like a $300,000 hiring mistake that I made. If it is yet to be out, keep an eye out for that. I'm definitely going to be sharing with you a very, very costly hiring mistake that I made. And another thing is when you have multiple people functioning for the same role, but you don't have enough tasks. What would end up happening is you would have employee churn, right? And when you have employee churn, it leads to lack of motivation on their part. You have people that are not as motivated to carry out these activities, and it just takes your company downhill. See, when we were at like 12 mil a year, right, we had high overhead, right? Very, very high overhead, that is expenses, and do not forget that taxes and all of that. But like right now, we're operating at a 80% profit margin, right? And it's crazy, but I'm going to share with you like why this has been made possible and why we've been able to achieve this, right? Now I have a coach, a very, very great guy that I consulted, and he helps people go from, you know, like 10 mil to possibly 50 and then 100 mil. And one of the things he told me is, are you trying to massage your ego, or you're really trying to build something that can scale, right? And there's a book called Built to Sell. And I don't know, like, I had read this book at some point, but I never really paid attention to like what it was sharing. But then, like, if you own a business, you want to run it in such a way that if you were going to sell this, will you be able to sell it, right? Now, another thing is that has made this possible is that I productized my knowledge. So when we were doing this, the main focus was on like agency work, right? If you have been my client, or if I've consulted with you, you know that at some point I worked with creators, I worked with coaches, consultants, trying to transition from selling their time to selling digital offers, but it was like at a high level, right? It was like you had to be established to a certain point, you had to be making at least $60,000 a month for us to be able to work together, and then like you get to fast track your stuff to 100K, 200K, 250K, and thereabouts. But in 2020, the pandemic happened and Clubhouse blew up. right? Even though this is not a promo for Clubhouse, but like Clubhouse blew up as a result of that, and because I was always sharing value in rooms that were hosted and all of that, people started asking me, hey man, you know what, can you teach this? Can you teach your process? Can you teach how you're able to get client results and all of that? And one thing that occurred is, because this was a recurring theme, I decided that cool, how about we create an accelerator program where I share my framework and strategies on how you can create offers that sell outside of your time, right? And we ended up creating what we know today as 7-figure offers. Now, 7-figure offers is like a 12-week accelerator that you go through that helps you and teaches you and guides you the exact same framework that you will be able to use to create and or sell more of the courses that you already have within the next 90 days, to be able to make more money in the next 90 days than the last 52 weeks, right? And this is a proven process. Like, we've had people go through it and they've gotten amazing results, amazing testimonials too. And so I focus now more on that than doing the agency work. And guess what? This blew up, right? Like, we've been able, between 2020 and now, we've been able to help people, at least 2,000 creators, get to roughly like $80 million in revenue, accrued revenue, which is insane when you think about it, that something could lead to one thing and it could blow up. Now, as a result of that, I discovered that, wow, this is actually pretty scalable, right? Because when I worked with people, it was more of us selling our time, and it was also having more people's input. And here is where it gets dicey, right? It gets dicey because when you are operating an agency, you're selling your time. And when you're selling your time, there's a limited amount of people that you can bring on board that you can get to work with. And when there's a limited amount of people that you can get to work with, if you are looking to get to a higher revenue, that means you have to take on more people. But because of this, you will get to a point where the more people that you bring on board and the more talents you have to hire, it will diminish. There's a lot of diminishing returns. That is, when you get to that point, the experience that you're creating for people starts to diminish, because now there are less things that you can control. And the lesser the things that you can control, the more the chances that things will start to get messy, right? And I mean, I love to travel, I love to drive fast cars, I love to enjoy my life, and I love to work 6 hours a week. That's the most I want to work in a week, right? But we discovered that before we created 7-figure offers and before any of this was in place, we started hiring so many people for roles, right? Which goes back to like my first point. We started hiring so many people for a certain role, mainly because like we were going to be working with multiple clientele, right? And that led to a ton of dissatisfaction. I won't lie. It led to a ton of dissatisfaction because there were so many people, and so we basically went from having, I think, like 22 staffs to now having a team of 7, but the 7 people on board are sharks, like killers in every specific role that they are playing, right? But before, we had like multiple people for media buying, we had multiple people for emails, we had multiple people that were functioning for graphics and all of that. But I just thought about it and I was like, hey, we could actually automate a lot of this process, which takes me to my next point, which is automations and systems. You're going to save yourself a lot of headache if you focus on never hiring for what can be automated, right? See, in the beginning, when you start a business, at least like when you're under 6 figures, you wear multiple hats. you are the graphics designer for your business, you're the one doing the website, you're the one doing most of these things. But when you get past $100,000, you need to start looking at it from the point of view of, hey, I need to get people in that can replace these roles, right? And now when you get people in, the more people you bring in, the less time you have to work, right? It gets dicey when you start bringing in people for specific roles and it's like multiple people serving one function, right? So the duality of those roles, the duplicity of those roles will end up increasing your overhead, reducing the level of satisfaction that the clients are having, and it would also cost you a lot more in the long run, because now you're going to have to like come back into the business. You're going to start working in the business instead of working on the business, because you're not even going to be as happy as you should, right? And yeah, that was very, very important. The moment that we productize, so right now, 7-figure offers is like the flywheel component for the whole business as it is. Why? Because everyone who comes through 7-figure offers right now already understands to an extent, like, okay, this is my thought process, which we are even trying to get better. We're trying to make it better now, because like in a few months from now, or should I say, in less than 45 days from now, 7-figure offers will be $10,000 for anyone to like access it. And the main reason is we're looking at making the process way better, making the structures, putting in certain structures and putting in certain systems in place to make the entire process much more streamlined. And once we have that in place, we're definitely upping the price. And when we up the price, it will now bring in people that are very, very qualified, in the sense that these people will understand the process. They will understand that this is my framework, this is my strategy, this is everything that they need to put in place to create offers that are validated and sell consistently, right? And as a result of that, now if people come from that, they will want to work with us, right? But it is like there is going to be a stricter qualifying process. Like there has to be certain things you're already doing that will make us want to partner with you, because we now have less agency offering, right? I looked at it from the point of view of whether you like it or not. When you have an agency, it's like you have multiple bosses, right? That is, you have multiple people that you are reporting to, multiple people that are taking your energy, multiple people that are taking your time. And that is why in one of the videos that I'm going to be making is why the agency business model is not scalable, right? Because this is time, right? There's a time factor attached to this. And for you to scale, there has to be certain dynamics in place. There has to be certain things in place, which is in another video I'm going to be sharing, like you need to simplify to scale. And that's another video that I'm going to be making. But what you must understand is you need less agency offering if you really want to scale. And here's why. You can do this because when you create something where you productize your knowledge, right, you are going to reach more people. You're going to build an authority and you're going to establish yourself in the field. And when you establish yourself in the field, you are going to be seen, you are going to be able to charge more. It's one of the things that I teach in 7-figure offers. And it's like this. When people come into your high ticket program, they instantly see you as an authority on that same topic. And when they see you as an authority on that same topic, no, for instance, 7-figure offers goes for mid 5 figures, and that's before we take it to $10,000. But just imagine for a minute that it is $10,000, right? Will someone come to me and want to work with me for $10,000 a month? It's not possible, because like that's how much money I could make from selling just one 7-figure offer, selling the accelerator program to one person, right? And right now, okay, in another video I'm going to be talking about how we had a $1.76 million day via the webinar, and which takes me back to automations and systems. So here's the thing, my process is not complicated at all. We run ads to a webinar funnel. From a webinar funnel, people will register. We have a tripwire offer, and then when people register for the webinar, they show up on the webinar, and we make an offer to them. That's it. It's not complicated at all, right? But when we were doing this, when we were doing 12 mil a year, we were having so many things in place that we couldn't control, right? The more you release control, the more you I'm not saying you should micromanage. There's a difference between micromanaging and releasing control. But the more things you can control in your business, the more things that are outside of change, the more you can accelerate your growth. Right now, out of all these things, I mean, these are like the four main things, but there's also one contributing factor of how I've been able to get 500% growth within just 2 years, right? From going to 12 mil to, by the end of this year, we're on track to 60 mil. And here's what I want you to understand. Access and the right information can change your life, right? Just one conversation. There's someone I invested $400,000 into learning from, and it's $400,000 per quarter, so that's like 1.6 mil per year, if I'm correct. And we're going to be having check-in calls per quarter. And this is someone that took a British company from $400,000. Well, in pounds, that's like 300 and something thousand pounds, but 375,000 pounds or so to $500 billion in 6 years. He was responsible for that. Now, if I mention the institution, of course, you probably know who I'm talking about. He's in charge of their sales and all of that. One of the things that we're implementing right now that we're going to be putting in place is to make sure we have proper sales acquisition channel. And what I mean is we're going to put in closers, like rockstar closers that can handle the level of skill that we are looking to dial in. So when we were doing 12 mil, we're trying to be everywhere at once, and that's what most gurus do these days. They don't really have the, they are focused more on being known, being popular versus being paid. And yeah, it's like shiny object syndrome. When you have shiny object syndrome, you want to entertain certain things that most people are talking about, but you never get anywhere, right? So if you want to get somewhere, follow a straight path, follow a process, and you'll be able to get somewhere. So just a quick recap, we remove duplicity of roles. We only hire when it hurts. This is a topic that I could break down into multiple videos. I might end up breaking it down into multiple videos, but do not hire, right? Except you need that person to fulfill that specific role, right? And then another thing out of this is look to hire rock stars instead of being cheap, right? See, cheap in the long run is expensive, and here's what I mean. If you don't find the right talent to take on a specific role, you end up paying more in time, in headaches, and in more money, right? And then productize your knowledge. So if you're looking to productize your knowledge, you should enroll in 7-figure offers. There will definitely be a link below this video in the descriptions. Go check the descriptions of this video, or in the comment section. It might be the pinned comment, or it might be in the comment section. Go check either of that to enroll for 7-figure offers. What you can decide to sign up for the webinar and watch the live webinar. It is hosted live every Sunday, and then try and put in automations and systems in place. We are always looking at making sure our processes are better, and then less agency offering. Most people that are teaching you about agencies don't tell you the complications that comes with running an agency. But hey, from next year I'm retired, I'm not working, I'm not doing any one-to-one. I'll probably consult and take royalties, but I'm not looking at doing that anymore. So with that, yeah, this is what has taken me from 12 mil a year to 60 mil a year. I hope you found value in this. Let me know what you think in the comments. Should I do much more detailed videos like this, or should we just keep it basic? But yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Cheers.